great to be here with you guys today. Well, it didn't take long for Alyssa Thomas to be proven as a liar. It didn't take long at all. She says, oh, Kathy Engelbert. Oh, I haven't heard from Kathy Engelbert. Well, actually, Kathy Engelbert reached out to you last week. Remember, Alyssa? You guys communicated through text message last week. Oh, but that doesn't really fit into your victimhood narrative, does it? Then we have activist
Alyssa Thomas stepped in front of the cameras with a statement that immediately sent shockwaves through the basketball world. She accused the WNBA commissioner of staying quiet while she endured relentless online abuse and claimed the league failed to support her during an intense wave of harassment. For a moment, it seemed like the controversy would dominate every headline, but everything changed when one text message surfaced and completely shifted the conversation. Now, the attention has turned in an entirely different direction. Crowds are buzzing, social media is exploding with reactions, and many are questioning whether this public accusation was a major miscalculation. As more information about Alyssa Thomas's communication with the league office comes into focus, the carefully crafted narrative surrounding one of the WNBA's most established veterans is facing its toughest challenge yet.
This Alyssa Thomas situation is the Jussie Smollett situation of the WNBA. Let me guess. After they sent you those messages, Alyssa Thomas, it ended with, "This is Clark country," and they chased you away. Then we have the New York Liberty fans booing Commissioner Kathy Engelbert, which I find interesting. I find the New York Liberty fans booing Kathy Engelbert interesting because, correct me if I'm wrong, Kathy Engelbert wore a New York City.
The controversy began when Alyssa Thomas publicly stated that she never received any communication from WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert about the online harassment she said she had been experiencing. Her comments created the impression that the league's leadership had remained silent while one of its biggest stars dealt with relentless abuse on social media. It was a claim that quickly generated sympathy and fueled criticism of the WNBA's response.
Finals series was riddled with calls going against the Minnesota Lynx because it was, wait for it, allegedly fixed, rigged to get the New York Liberty to win a championship. And they're booing the commissioner? Interesting. Let's get right into it, shall we? Like the video, hype the video. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below and subscribe to the channel. That would mean so much to me. Let's start with Alyssa Thomas on recent online harassment. We still have yet to hear anything from Kathy Engelbert.
The narrative took an unexpected turn when ESPN's Alexa Philippou reported that Alyssa Thomas and WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert had exchanged text messages only days before Alyssa's public comments. That report challenged the widespread belief that there had been no communication at all between the two. Instead, it suggested there had already been direct contact behind the scenes, adding a new layer to the controversy. As fans compared the public statements with the reported timeline, questions quickly began to surface. Critics argued that if those communications had taken place, they complicated the claim that league leadership had remained completely silent. The debate shifted almost overnight, with many focusing less on the original allegations and more on whether the full context had been presented. What began as a wave of public sympathy soon evolved into a growing controversy, placing both the league and Alyssa Thomas under even greater scrutiny.
She remains silent, and that's unfortunate when our lives are being threatened.
Well, interesting, Alyssa Thomas, because the only people who've been arrested for stalking WNBA players are two individuals that stalked WNBA players that played on the Indiana Fever. Oh, wow. Did Kathy Engelbert speak up about that, Alyssa Thomas?
But Caitlin Clark's not black.
Oh. When Sophie Cunningham stalker got her, did Kathy Engelbert speak about?
But Sophie Cunningham's not lesbian.
All right.
As the controversy grew, some commentators began drawing comparisons to the highly publicized Jussie Smollett case, arguing that the public narrative appeared carefully constructed to generate the strongest possible reaction. During one podcast discussion, the host openly criticized what they described as a victim-focused narrative, suggesting it shifted attention away from Alyssa Thomas's play and the events taking place on the court. The comparison sparked strong reactions, but it reflected the frustration some fans expressed over how the situation was unfolding. According to those critics, Alyssa's claim that league leadership had failed to respond was presented in a way that positioned her as a symbol of the WNBA's veteran players. However, as additional information entered the public conversation, many supporters and skeptics alike began questioning whether the complete story had been told. Instead of reinforcing the original message, the controversy fueled a broader debate about public perception, accountability, and the importance of presenting the full context before drawing conclusions.
Caitlyn in the throat. Now I mentioned this. Oops, excuse me. Now I mentioned this. Do you know what Alyssa Thomas wants Cathy Engelbert to do realistically? These players want Cathy Engelbert to police social media. Just do us all a favor. Go to your safe space on Threads, go to your safe space on Blue Sky, and stop swimming in the deep end. Stop swimming with the sharks. Go to your echo chamber, Blue Sky, go to the echo chamber and Threads, and just leave us all alone with your victim Olympics, please. Please.
Many fans also pointed to the timing of Alyssa Thomas's comments, especially in light of her recent matchup against Caitlin Clark. Critics argued that while Alyssa was speaking out about online harassment, she had also been involved in a highly physical on-court incident with the league's biggest young star. The play, which included contact around Clark's upper body and neck area, quickly became a flashpoint for debate and fueled even more controversy across social media. To many observers, the contrast was difficult to ignore. They questioned why so much attention was being placed on policing online behavior, while physical play involving one of the WNBA's most recognizable rookies continued to generate heated debate. Whether viewed as tough basketball or something that crossed the line, the incident intensified concerns among fans, who believe Caitlin Clark has repeatedly found herself on the receiving end of overly aggressive play from veteran opponents.
Go to the echo chamber and Threads and just leave us all alone with your victim Olympics, please. Please. Well, what do you want, Kat? What do you want, Alyssa Thomas? You want to get rid of free speech? Is that what you want, Alyssa Thomas? You want to get rid of free speech, Alyssa Thomas, huh? Me words hurt? Oh. Now, Cathy Engelbert, of course, felt the pressure from the mob, felt the pressure from the WNBA old guard, and said, oh, fine, I'll put out a statement. Fine. The WNBA vehemently condemns any and all forms of hate. The safety and
supporters of Caitlin Clark argue that she has dealt with an extraordinary amount of pressure and scrutiny since entering the WNBA. From intense media attention to physical play on the court and constant criticism online, they believe she has faced challenges that would overwhelm many players. Even so, Clark has largely allowed her performances to do the talking, choosing not to make public complaints after every controversy. That contrast has become a major talking point among fans. While some players have been outspoken about online abuse and the league's response, Clark is often viewed by her supporters as someone who stays focused on basketball despite the distractions surrounding her. To those fans, the difference in approach is striking, reinforcing their belief that some players prefer to let their game speak for itself, while others are more willing to take their frustrations into the public spotlight.
Gets a fist in her neck, while Caitlin Clark has stalkers being arrested, while Sophie Cunningham has stalkers being arrested, while Maisha Hines-Allen is getting called a coon on the court. Cathy Engelbert comes out, scared of the big bad Alyssa Thomas, and has to put out a statement. But now, Alyssa Thomas said, we have yet to hear anything from Cathy Engelbert. Which is interesting, because Alexa Filippo of ESPN said WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert and...
As criticism intensified, WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert eventually released a broad statement denouncing hate and online harassment. While the message was intended to address the growing controversy, many critics argued that it failed to satisfy those demanding stronger action from the league. The debate quickly shifted from the statement itself to whether the WNBA was doing enough to protect its players from online abuse. According to many fans and commentators, Engelbert was left trying to balance competing pressures from across the league. Some believe the WNBA had responded more forcefully when established veterans voiced concerns, while appearing far less vocal when younger stars faced intense scrutiny or became the center of repeated controversies. Whether that perception is fair or not, it has fueled a growing discussion about consistency, accountability, and how league leadership chooses to respond when different players find themselves at the center of public backlash.
In the WNBA, who would have thought she would have been a liar? Not I, says the big bad wolf. Not I. Alyssa Thomas, I'm sure she heard the monkey noises when she was in Indiana last year. They probably were in her head. They probably were made up in her mind, but I'm sure she heard them. They just weren't vocalized from the crowd. They were the voices inside her head. Shout out to Randy Orton. And then Annie Costabile, activist Annie, she gets sent the dossier. We could tie it all in here. We could tie in the just.
Beyond the headlines and social media arguments, many fans believe the conversation should also focus on real-world safety concerns. Recent reports of individuals being arrested in connection with alleged stalking incidents involving members of the Indiana Fever raised serious questions about how the league responds to threats that extend beyond the internet. Critics wondered why those incidents appeared to receive far less public attention than online harassment directed at veteran players. To them, it created the impression that some situations receive a much stronger response than others. Supporters of that view also pointed to Sophie Cunningham, noting that she has spoken about dealing with a stalker without prompting the same level of public messaging from league leadership. Whether that perception is fair or not, it has fueled an ongoing debate over consistency. Many fans argue that every player deserves the same level of support, regardless of experience, popularity, or where they fit into the league's larger storyline. As the controversy continued, media coverage became another point of contention. Journalists, including Annie Costabile, reported on direct messages allegedly sent to players such as Dewana Bonner that contained racist language and violent threats. Few people dispute that messages of that nature are unacceptable. However, some commentators question the timing of those reports, arguing that the focus quickly shifted away from the original controversy surrounding Alyssa Thomas's public statements and toward the most extreme behavior found online. Another topic that drew attention involved reports that some abusive messages allegedly ended with phrases linking the harassment to Caitlin Clark's fan base. Skeptics argued that claims like these require strong evidence before broad conclusions are drawn, warning against assigning responsibility to millions of fans based on the actions of anonymous individuals. They noted that when stories become increasingly sensational, audiences naturally begin asking for more proof rather than simply accepting the narrative at face value. Some commentators also argued that expecting the WNBA to regulate conversations across the entire internet is an unrealistic standard. Their view is that while the league should condemn threats and support players facing harassment, it cannot realistically control what strangers post across countless online platforms. They contend that attempting to police every corner of social media risks creating expectations that no sports league could ever meet. The debate eventually spilled into live arenas as well. During the Commissioner's Cup trophy presentation, Commissioner Cathy Engelbert was met with loud boos from portions of the crowd. For many observers, it was a striking moment that reflected growing frustration among fans. In larger professional sports leagues, commissioners often become the public face of unpopular decisions, and some believe Engelbert is now experiencing that same level of scrutiny. Critics also revived discussion about past appearances by the commissioner, including her decision to wear a dress featuring the New York City skyline during the WNBA Finals. While supporters viewed it as a harmless fashion choice, others argued it created an appearance of favoritism and questioned whether league leadership had done enough to avoid even the perception of bias. Whether justified or not, moments like these have continued to fuel debate about the league's leadership, transparency, and credibility. Being booed by the same fan base you're expected to represent is never a good look, and that's exactly what happened when Commissioner Cathy Engelbert took the stage. For many viewers, the reaction reflected months of growing frustration rather than one isolated moment. It suggested that, regardless of past decisions or perceived support for certain teams or markets, fans are more than willing to voice their displeasure when confidence in league leadership begins to fade. That frustration has been building ever since last season's WNBA Finals. Some fans continue to question several controversial moments from the championship series, leading to widespread debates online about whether the New York Liberty benefited from key decisions. While there is no evidence that the finals were rigged, the lingering perception of favoritism has refused to disappear. Engelbert's decision to wear a dress featuring the New York City skyline during the finals only added fuel to those discussions, with critics arguing that it created an unnecessary appearance of bias and left Minnesota Lynx supporters feeling overlooked. At the same time, many observers pointed out that boos directed at a commissioner are hardly unique to the WNBA. Commissioners across leagues like the NFL and NHL are regularly greeted with negative reactions from fans, and it has become part of the territory that comes with the position. What surprised people wasn't simply that Engelbert was booed, it was how much attention the moment received, as though it were something unprecedented rather than a common feature of professional sports. For some fans, the Commissioner's Cup ceremony generated almost as much conversation as the game itself. Social media quickly shifted toward discussions about league leadership, public controversies, and ongoing debates involving players, leaving the basketball itself competing for attention. That has led some commentators to argue that the WNBA risks allowing off-court storylines to overshadow the product on the floor, a trend they believe could become a long-term challenge if it continues. Media coverage has become another flashpoint in the debate. Some critics argue that outlets such as The Athletic and reporters including Annie Costabile have focused heavily on highlighting abusive online messages sent to players, including reports involving DeWanna Bonner. While virtually everyone agrees that racist language, threats, and harassment have no place in sports, some commentators believe the timing and emphasis of those stories have influenced the broader public conversation, redirecting attention away from questions surrounding on-court incidents and league accountability. Others argue that discussions about online abuse should not automatically end legitimate basketball debates. In their view, fans should be able to criticize hard fouls, officiating, or player behavior without every disagreement being dismissed as harassment. They believe there is an important distinction between abusive conduct and fair criticism, and that preserving that distinction is essential for healthy discussion around the sport. Another major point of debate centers on social media itself. Some commentators contend that while leagues should condemn threats and protect players whenever possible, expecting the WNBA to regulate millions of online posts across every platform is simply unrealistic. Professional athletes operate under an intense public spotlight, and many believe that scrutiny, both positive and negative, is an unavoidable part of competing at the highest level. The challenge, they argue, is finding ways to address genuine abuse without attempting to control every opinion expressed online. That discussion has also extended to alternative social media platforms like Blue Sky and Threads. Critics suggest that moving conversations to smaller, more curated spaces may reduce exposure to negativity, but it cannot eliminate criticism altogether. In their view, public attention always comes with public feedback, and athletes who focus primarily on their performance instead of every online comment are often the ones who handle that pressure most successfully. Meanwhile, the relationship between longtime fans, veteran players, and the league's rapidly expanding audience continues to evolve. Many veterans understandably take pride in helping build the WNBA into what it is today. At the same time, a new generation of fans has been drawn to the league by rising stars such as Caitlin Clark and the excitement surrounding young talent. As those two perspectives collide, disagreements over league culture, media coverage, and player treatment have become increasingly visible. The WNBA is clearly experiencing a pivotal moment. Interest in the league has never been higher, creating enormous opportunities for future growth. But many fans believe that reaching that potential will require greater consistency, transparency, and a renewed emphasis on the basketball itself, rather than constant off-court controversies. For critics of the current direction, the boos aimed at Commissioner Cathy Engelbert represented something much larger than dissatisfaction with one individual. They reflected broader concerns about leadership, public trust, and the way controversies have been handled throughout the season. Whether those concerns are justified or not, one thing is becoming increasingly clear. Today's fans are paying close attention, asking difficult questions, and expecting authenticity from everyone involved. As the league continues to grow, many believe the biggest victories will come not from winning social media battles, but from letting the game itself remain the center of the conversation.